Israel's full cabinet has begun meeting to ratify the Gaza ceasefire deal after the country's security cabinet approved the terms of the agreement yesterday. It includes the release of hostages held by Hamas in exchange for thousands of Palestinian prisoners held in Israeli jails.
Now, the ceasefire is expected to start on Sunday afternoon, Jerusalem time, which on the Australian eastern seaboard will be Monday in the early hours of the morning. ABC's Global Affairs Editor John Lyons has the details.
What we're expecting to see, based on the information that's come out so far, is that 3 of the Israeli hostages currently in Gaza will be released, handed over to probably the Red Cross and then Israeli authorities. It may well be done through Egypt, as has happened on previous occasions, where the Red Cross will check them, then deliver them to the Israeli army, who will be in the south of Israel. And then it will be a case by helicopter. They're expected to be flown to an army base in Israel, probably in the Negev desert, gets a serious medical checkup, and then be flown to a hospital as well, where for a period of time very close relatives may be able to see them. On the Palestinian side, in the West Bank, we're expecting that as many as 90 or 95 Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails will be released. Now, we know that the Israelis, there'll be 3 women, and then over the next 6 weeks, there'll be 3 Israeli hostages released each week for the first 2 or 3 or 4 weeks. And then as that 6-week period goes on, phase 1 of this ceasefire deal, then more and more Israeli hostages will be released and more Palestinians.
This agreement, John, has come right down to the wire. We know there's been a lot of pushback from the far-right ministers in Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition. How has he managed to get them over the line?
Well, Fauzia, there has been, as you say, resistance particularly from 2 of the very influential ministers in the cabinet, far-right ministers, Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich. The Israeli media has reported that to try to ensure that they don't walk out of the government and cause the government to collapse, that Benjamin Netanyahu has promised that he will expand settlements in the West Bank. Those settlements, of course, Jewish settlements, are widely considered illegal under international law. So it's an extraordinary situation that to get this particular deal done, Benjamin Netanyahu is further expanding settlements in the West Bank, which will make any Palestinian state more and more difficult, if not impossible. So at the very time where the United States and Australia and the Europeans are saying we must have a 2-state solution here, Qatar has said that tonight as well. The only solution is a 2-state solution. Benjamin Netanyahu is actually making that more and more difficult.
All right, so if everybody's waiting for the ceasefire to be implemented tomorrow, what's been happening on the ground for now?
Well, it was announced about 2 days ago that the ceasefire was coming. Since then, it appears from many reports out of Gaza that Israeli bombing has been even heavier. As many Gazan authorities say, as many as 100 people have been killed in the last 24 hours. There's a heartbreaking images of a little 3-year-old boy who was caught under rubble in Gaza from an Israeli bomb, and people were walking across the rubble and heard this little voice crying out. They then started to pull away some of the rocks, and this tiny little hand came up and started sort of showing his arm. They then pulled all of the rocks away. He's survived miraculously, and the pictures of him taking the gravel out of his mouth, and so that's happened since this ceasefire has announced. Israel's bombing appears to have been intensified.